and welcome to Adiós Guapo. Yo soy Melissa.
This is Liz.
Hola, soy Lisette.
Hola, soy Maria.
I'm back again, Amy.
And Erica here.
All right, so today we have a special guest. Her name is Amanda Garcia, and she's in immigration at the Acacia Center for Justice, where she serves on the public education and training team. Welcome to Adiós Guapo, Amanda.
Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very
being
much.
here.
Very happy to meet all of you.
Thank you. So if you would like to give us a little bit more information about yourself, like what inspired you to specialize in immigration law?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I knew probably as a teenager that I wanted to be a lawyer. I just wasn't sure what type.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad is from Argentina, so he had mentioned to me like, oh, you could do immigration law, but at that time, you know, as a teenager, none of that really lands. And even as I got into law school, when that suggestion would come up, I didn't really know much about immigration law. And to me, it seemed like kind of like doing people's taxes for them. Like it would filling out a lot of forms, or like when I have to fill out the FAFSA to get scholarship money, like it kind of seemed like that to me. I'm like, I don't want to fill out people's forms. Like it just seemed like homework, like doing everybody's homework. And I was like, so it didn't really click. But then I took an immigration law class in law school, and some of it was confirmed, like, yeah, you're going to be doing these forms for people. That's part of the process. But I also had opportunities to volunteer with unaccompanied immigrant children who were held in shelters in the custody of, it's called the Office of Refugee Resettlement. So like when children arrive at the border with someone who isn't a parent, I mean, maybe they come with their older brother or an uncle or their aunt, but if they don't arrive with their parent, then the government says, well, you're unaccompanied, and they take custody of them.
Oh my God.
And they put them in shelters run by Office of Refugee Resettlement. So as a law student, I had the chance to volunteer with kids who were in those shelters in Chicago and meet with them like weekly to see how they're doing, like to keep track of like, how are you surviving? Are you coping? And talk to them about why'd they leave? Because at that time, and even now, but especially then, there weren't a lot of advocates available for children in that situation. So now there's an organization called the Young Center for Immigrant Children's Rights. And at that time, they had a different name, but they were kind of doing what they do now. They were trying to connect kids in these shelters with volunteers who could talk to them and make sure that they're okay. Like, I mean, their physical being was taken care of. Like they had food, they had a place to sleep. But in terms of how are you doing, and what do you want? What do you want for yourself moving forward? Some of those kids had family in the U.S. already, and that's why they came, was to join, to reunite with mom. And some kids didn't. They were leaving because they weren't in a good situation at home. And maybe they were being abused, or they were threatened by gang violence, or whatever it was. There were reasons that they came. So as a law student volunteer, I could meet with kids to see, like, what do you want? What are your plans? Why did you come? What do you hope will happen now? And sometimes that was, I just want to go be with my mom, who's already here. And for some like teenagers, that was a really complicated question. They didn't know if they could survive here, or if anyone would take them in. So through that experience in law school, it became clear to me, like, oh, like this is immigration law. It's not only filling out forms, that's a big part of it, but it's the human motivations behind why people do what they do. Why do we need to leave the home that we grew up in, or the town that we were born in? What is it? it's a human thing to migrate. So you're interacting with people and helping them along the way and understanding what is it that you need out of life? What do you need for yourself and your family? And how can I accompany you with that? How can I assist? What can I do to support you as you do that? So that's kind of what brought me to it. It wasn't a direct path. I mean, I graduated law school in 2006. The first 10 years of me being a lawyer was really doing stuff I didn't want to do. I was like a divorce attorney for a couple of years, and then I did like document review for these big litigation things going on. And I worked for small businesses. I did like some intellectual property stuff. And all through that, I was like, this is super boring and not why I went to law school. I don't care about people's money or what property interests they believe they have in some word or idea. Like, that's not why I went. I knew I went because I wanted to help people. I wanted to protect people. And none of that was it. So after about 10 years of doing things I didn't want to do, kind of forced my way into immigration law a little bit. Fortunately, I had some good mentors who helped, open the door for me and got me some of those first experiences. But yeah, it's been a calling that I didn't have a name for a while, but I'm really glad that I'm in the right place now.
Yeah, that's very admirable.
Yep.
Yes,
Thank you
very
for doing
inspiring.
that.
Thank you.
So my feelings aside, and I know we're all feeling it, and this episode is about being informed, and we're going to try to be intentional, and it's just to prepare our listeners, just so they can feel a little bit more secure. I know that recently, the past year, like a lot of the immigration law people, or like they've been struggling because of how everything's changing so fast. Could you go into more detail about like that we don't have due process anymore, or like, do we have due process?
Yeah, that's a good question and an important thing to understand and to continually ask. Like, what is due process? Where did that come from? And how do you know it exists or not? So there are, the Constitution is the basis for many of the rights that we assume that we have. It articulates, like, in this country, here are the rights that the people here can rely on. So the right to due process, I think that's the Sixth Amendment, but it's the idea that, if you are charged with a crime, or maybe the government wants to take your house from you because you didn't pay your tax bill, like, before something major happens to you, like punishment, like your life, your liberty, or your property, honestly, if those things are threatened by the government, if the government wants to take any of those things from you, first, there has to be a process that individual goes through before the government can come in and say, okay, you have to go sit in this jail, or you have to pay this fine, or we're going to take your house now. Like, there's due process. It's the right to have your fair day in court, as imperfect as the courts are. And it's your opportunity to challenge the government and say, like, okay, first of all, what's the government even trying to accomplish here? What's the government trying to do? And then giving that person that's the subject of that effort the chance to question that and to defend themselves and to say, okay, well, the government has to show they have to meet their burden of proof, or they have to show that if it's a crime, they have to establish beyond a reasonable doubt that I'm the one that did it. These are our rights. We think of as something that kind of belong to us, and like, no one can mess with me because I have these rights. But another way of thinking about it is our rights are restrictions on government power. So it's like the Bill of Rights says, here are the things that the government can't do. And it's written that way because of all of the things that the King of England was doing at the time of the US Revolution. So the Bill of Rights is sort of a reflection of like, okay, here are the things that King George is doing. We're not into it. And we're going to start over. We're going to have our own thing. We're going to start our own country because he's a mess and he's insane and we can't deal with this. So we're starting over, and here's a list of all the things that he did that we're not going to do here. So first of all, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, like it's the First Amendment. You have the freedom to think whatever you want, to worship whatever God you want, or to not worship any God at all, to have no religion. Like you have this freedom of thought. So that's like the one response to how the King of England was running things. Same with, here's an amendment that no one ever thinks about, the Third Amendment. What is in the Third Amendment? So that one says that the government can't force you to allow soldiers to sleep in your house. And we never hear about the Third Amendment because it's not happened here. We're like, what? What? I don't know what you're talking about. But that was a thing that was happening in England, that soldiers, the military, could show up at your house and demand that you basically opened your home like a hotel, gave them a place to sleep, gave them food to eat, took care of them. So we have a Third Amendment that says, no, this government won't do that. The government's not allowed to do that. And then like the due process part and like the right to having a lawyer, I mean, all of that, it's the same of like, so what was going on at the time of the revolution? So you could be accused of a crime and then that was enough. Like there wasn't a chance to defend yourself or to make the king show that you did this thing that he accused you of doing. It was just, well, the king said so. He said you did it, so you did it, and now we get to execute you. Like there was no distance between what the authority figure, the king, the crown, said and what reality was, or like what the verdicts were. So due process is that attempt to limit the government's authority and say, like, you can't just accuse someone of something and that's enough. Like if you're going to try to convict them, you have to show proof. You've got to have witnesses. Like this is the government's responsibility to prove that a crime happened. So due process applies in civil processes as well, which immigration is one. Other civil processes are like taxes. I guess the EPA is a civil administrative body, but sort of any government function that isn't like the criminal system is an administrative civil system. The ways that we've seen due process deteriorate in the past year have been really quick. First of all, like the immigration system and courts, they were not in good shape anyway. The immigration court is under the same branch of government as the president. It falls under the Department of Justice. So whoever your attorney general is at the time, all of the immigration proceedings fall under the control of the attorney general. So right now that's Pam Bondi. So all like immigration cases say like, it'd be like Bondi versus so-and-so because it's all under her Department of Justice. But even before this, like Trump 2.0, the immigration courts were not the best example of what functional due process is. They are civil in nature, which means that if you are called into that courtroom, you have the right to a lawyer, but the government's not going to provide you with one. If you want one, that's cool. You've got to go find one and pay for it. It's only in the criminal context would the government ever have an obligation to provide you with a public defender. Immigration court, but there's no such thing. And there are other courts where that's a problem too. Like if you're a parent and you've been put in an abuse and neglect proceeding, that's a civil proceeding. So you in that proceeding, you might lose custody of your children. Your children might be taken from you and put in foster care. But even in that setting, because it's civil, you won't be given a lawyer. The government won't pay for one. So you can go get one, but that's up to you. So there are other places where this sort of civil thing happens where it's like, wait, I've been hauled into court, but no one's giving me a lawyer. How am I going to do this? So a lot of people end up doing it themselves, representing themselves. I'd say in the past year, the really like swift actions that happened that have made due process really questionable in the immigration context and truly like nearly non-existent. First was watching many immigration judges get fired, terminated.
Oh man.
And for what looked like political reasons, and it continues to happen. So a lot of that happened quickly when Elon Musk was like running Doge. I don't know if that Department of Government Efficiency, it doesn't seem to exist now like it did initially. It never really existed, but like nonetheless, Elon Musk was like running things in the government. So while he was there, like there were all of these programs that were cut, and we started seeing immigration judges get dismissed, especially the ones that had been hired like during the Biden administration. Because they had been there 2 years or less, and it's, you know, they were on probation technically, so it was easy to fire them. So like all these immigration judges got fired, and that has continued to happen over and over. So while there are like millions of cases pending before the immigration court, why would you at that time, when it's so difficult to get time in front of a judge and the whole system is over capacity, why would you get rid of the judges? Like these are the people that are supposed to like make these decisions and look at the facts and decide whether or not someone should be removed or not. Well, if you don't care about due process, if you don't care about the law, then it doesn't matter. Like we don't really need judges, and you just start firing them. So that was the first thing we saw. I was like, oh, okay, they don't care. They fired all these judges. They also got rid of programs. I mean, that's what Acacia did. We had these programs that were federally funded to help people who had a case before the immigration court. So there were help desks paid for by Congress that existed in many immigration courts. I don't know if they all had them, but it was just a help desk where people could go and say, like, I don't have a lawyer. I don't know how to do this. Like, what the judge mentioned this form. I don't know what that is. And they could go to the help desk and someone would say, like, here's the form. Here it is in a language you understand. And then maybe help them fill out that form. So that all of those types of programs were cut by Elon, Doge. There were programs like that in ICE facilities. That was what I did. Not every ICE facility, but I think about 36 or between 36 and 40. There was like an immigration help desk inside of ICE facilities. Or organizations would go in and talk to people in the facilities that didn't have lawyers and say, okay, hang on, like here's what's going to happen. You have court. Here's what the judge is going to expect from you. Here are your options. Here, you know, if you want to fight your case, here are the ways to fight your case. If you don't want to fight your case, if you just want to get out of here, like you want to deport immediately, here's how you do that. If you want to fight to get a bond, here's how you do that. So all of those programs were cut. But I think the most obvious attacks on due process, I'd say it's been the ICE agents in the hallways of the courthouses, because that really discourages people from engaging with the function of the court. If I can't attend court without the possibility that I will be disappeared at the end of that hearing, why would I go? And it really puts people in an impossible situation, because if they don't go to court, they get an automatic deportation order. If they do go to court, then you've got to cross your fingers and pray that the agents in the hallway aren't looking for you or waiting for you. Because that's what they do. They wait. There are multiple agents. One would sit in the courtroom and then text an agent in the hallway and say, like, so-and-so is coming out. He's got a red shirt on. And then they tackle him in the hallway. So that was like, that's the most visible attack on due process, is that like ICE picking people off as they leave their court hearing. I'd say the less obvious one that like you probably need to be an attorney or like in the practice of being in those courtrooms to know what's happening, is that a lot of people seek asylum when they go to immigration court. And not even everyone, but okay, so I'm gonna try to explain this. What they were doing, they're doing a couple things. So I don't know if you've heard of expedited removal. But there's a way to deport people really quickly without a court hearing. They don't need to see a judge. Expedited removal was created probably back in like 96, 97 under President Clinton. And at that time, the idea was that like Border Patrol or immigration agents at the border could turn someone around that they saw cross into the US, like not at a port of entry. So they were crossing between the normal ports of entry, crossing through the desert. If an immigration agent caught you doing that, they could basically turn you around and be like, no, go back. Like it's like a very fast form of removal, deportation. It's like, wrong, like try again. Like you gotcha, you got to go back. So that was initially what that meant. It was like the expedited, like, I caught you trying to come in, like, no, try, come back another day, go to the port of entry, do whatever, but like, I caught you, turn around. So it started off like that, but then that whole idea of like immediate removal without a hearing before a judge has now become like the preferred method of this administration, where they say, well, really like everybody should be removed that way. Even if you've been here for 20 years, we're still going to remove you that way, which is not how it started. It started as like, I saw you come in the country and I'm telling you, you have to go back, like turn around, go back. But now they want to apply that idea of like, no, everybody should be subject to expedited removal. So that's what this administration is doing. And they're doing it at the courtroom, and they're doing it in this weird way where they there's like this collusion between the ICE attorneys in the courtroom and the immigration judges on the bench. That's really scary, because what happens in these cases is that someone shows up to court, maybe their first hearing, and they tell the judge, like, I need more time. I want to look for a lawyer, or I think I'm going to apply for asylum, but I'm not ready today. I need more time. And what happens is that the ICE attorney in the courtroom says, you know what? We just want to close this case. We don't want to prosecute this case anymore. Just close the case. And to the person in the courtroom, they think like, oh my God, that's awesome. Like they don't want to deport me anymore. And a judge, where the part that makes me mad is like the judges are going with it and they know what's going to happen. So the judges are like, oh, okay, that's fine. We'll close this case, take it off the docket. It's done. So that sounds like, oh, cool, good. Like, this person's not being deported anymore, or the whole court's not coming for them. So what happens is that when ICE moves to close the case and the judge says, okay, cool, and they close the case, when that guy leaves the courtroom, ICE is in the hallway, because now that person doesn't have a pending case open anymore. Now they're subject to expedited removal. I can go grab him. He doesn't have a court hearing coming up. We're just going to remove him.
Oh, wow.
So that's one way that due process is being diminished or deteriorating. It's like this coordination between ICE and the judges that like, we're just going to start closing cases. And then we've got agents in the hallway who are going to start picking these people off and hauling them into the van to take them to the detention center to then fly them wherever. So that's one way. It's like, wait, this person had a case. They had a plan. They wanted to figure something out. They wanted to raise a defense. And the whole system was like, no, let's not bother with that. Let's just do this the really fast way. The other way we've seen due process attacked is specifically with people seeking asylum. There's been this strange set of rules that are coming from the bench. It's the judges who are saying, like, well, I have to terminate your asylum case, or I have to reject your application because of all these different rules that just keep getting invented every day. Or like, wait, I didn't, when did this rule happen? So first it was that, oh, the application's not complete. You filed an incomplete asylum application, but they won't tell you how it's incomplete. They just say, oh, it's incomplete. So sorry, you can't seek asylum because you did it wrong. So they would reject asylum applications without really explaining what the deficiency was and not giving that person an opportunity to fix it. They would just say, oh, you did it wrong. And then just, what's your plan now? Because you did asylum wrong. Do you have another application you're going to present to me today? No? Okay, well, what are we doing? And then what this leads to is people getting removal orders in court. The other weird things that have happened to asylum seekers in court. So first it was you did your application wrong, you can't apply for asylum now, meaning you're not eligible for anything else, and well, I guess you'll have to get deported. The other thing that's been happening more recently is either ICE or the judge will say, and sometimes this happens the day of someone's hearing. Like they filed their application, they're there to present all their evidence, and they are then told, oh, you're not eligible for asylum because when you traveled to the United States to seek asylum, you went through another country that we have an asylum cooperative agreement with. What that means is you were supposed to apply for asylum in that country.
With them.
With them. So when you traveled through El Salvador, you were supposed to apply for asylum in El Salvador, obviously. And since you didn't, well, now we can't. Who are we? Who are we to grant you asylum? Because you were supposed to have done it with El Salvador. So people are like, what? What are you, like, no one told me that when I was in El Salvador and I wasn't safe while I was there. What are you talking about? Like, this country, that country doesn't have a functioning asylum system. Like, there's no, where'd this come from? So this has come up in the past few months where we're hearing it from the judges about, oh, well, we have an asylum cooperative agreement with this country, so you need to apply for asylum in that country. And I think it's come up for the countries that have been named as having these agreements. I think it's like Honduras. And sometimes it's countries the person's never been to. Oh, wow. Like Uganda. I mean, it's just coming up with like, oh, well, we don't do asylum anymore. You have to apply with Uganda. Like, it's really bizarre. Like,
yeah, that's the word that came.
You came here, you filled out the form, you showed up to court, you have your evidence, and then suddenly the judge is like, oh, well, Honduras has the authority here, not us. So it's really like, these are the ways that due process is being dismantled. It's that processes are being completely taken apart. These new rules are just popping up every day. People don't have proper notification of what's happening. They're being threatened on the premises of the court, or if they had an ICE check-in, like, there's a threat to, no matter where you go with the immigration system, maybe you're applying for your green card or you're applying for citizenship. ICE is arresting people at those interviews. How is that due process? You're going through the process And then here comes this enforcement agent with a gun and handcuffs to do what? Like to take your opportunity at having a fair day in court or at a hearing, they're taking it away from you. It's been getting worse and worse. I mean, with all these immigration judges being fired, the administration has now replaced them with attorneys from the military.
Oh my God.
So if you're in the military, the US military, they have like their own sort of military justice system. So like if you're a soldier and you commit a crime while you're on a military base, you have to deal with the military code of justice, and it's like its own separate court. And there are attorneys that work there. They're called judge advocate generals, and that's all they do is military law and like codes of behavior. It's sort of this like parallel legal system for military members. And that kind of makes sense because we have military bases in other countries, but it's like you're still subject to the United States rules, and like at least that's how we've set it up. So what this administration has done now that they keep clearing out these immigration judges who have been there for years and know how to do their job. Now they're taking military attorneys who all that they've done is the military code of justice and deal with soldiers. And now they've put them in immigration court. They have no immigration law understanding or experience. But this administration is like, so what?
Wow.
How hard is it? They'll figure it out. And really, it's that they don't care. They know they won't figure it out. And the immigration law is extremely complicated. But they're just putting in military judge advocate generals, I think because they believe that they are obedient and that they will do as told. Because the military falls under the command of the commander-in-chief. So I think that's the idea, is that these JAG attorneys will do as they're told. And
Amanda,
from what we've seen, sometimes they do. They're kind of inventing things as they go. I understand that some have tried to do immigration law as written, and they're, getting in trouble for that.
I think, is there anything you want like people to know? Like, is there maybe like the biggest misconception currently out there that you want to clear up?
Oh, gosh. Honestly, I think the most important thing is for people at risk of enforcement to prepare. Because I don't know, people have such a deep misunderstanding about immigration law that I don't even bother to try to help them along. I guess I'm thinking of like the most racist people.
yeah,
That it's like to them, being non-white is illegal. So no matter what you did to come here, you're still illegal. It's like, and that's really hard. Like, they don't care about the law. So I could explain to them, like, well, do you understand like what it means to be admitted or paroled? And they don't care. They do not care. It's like, if you're not white, you shouldn't be here. So in a way, I'm like, I'm not the one to move them on that, because they're just not willing to understand. They don't care about what the laws are as much as they say they do, as much as they say they want everyone to come here legally and that's all they care about. I'm like, no, you don't, because people are doing it the legal way and they're getting arrested for doing it that way, and like you're cheering for it. So that's not what you want. You don't actually care about law and procedure, because if you did, you'd freak out that ICE says there's no Fourth Amendment or that they took this guy's gun from him. Like, you would flip out if you really cared about law.
yeah,
Right.
You don't. So, yeah, I mean, it sucks, but like I guess I focus on if you have a mixed status family, or you yourself or you know people that, even if they're citizens,
Yeah.
if you're, you know, brown people.
It's like empathy, like have it for humanity.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I think about preparing, like knowing, especially if you aren't a citizen, okay, even if you're a permanent resident, ICE doesn't currently worry about the laws. So they might kidnap you. So how do you prepare for that?
Yeah.
It's a shitty question.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, there are some very practical things that you can do to prepare for the moment when someone might come kidnap you. And it's weird to think about, but I try to compare it to like, okay, it's like having your estate plan in place. Like maybe you get a cancer diagnosis and this is not what you want. No one wants that, but you know that it's there. So you've got to get your affairs in order. I mean, it sucks, but it's like there's paperwork involved. If you're facing an illness like that, okay, so if I'm gone, if I suddenly die because this illness gets me, who's going to take care of my kids?
Right.
Who's going to have the authority to take care of them? Who can take over my bank accounts for me? Do I have an extra set of car keys? Who knows where those are?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows where my passport is? Like, so it's not birth certificate. So it's not exactly like preparing for death, but it is that same kind of emotional, like, I don't want this to happen. And for some people, that's enough to keep them from planning because they don't want to think about it. Yeah. A lot of people are like, no, God's protecting me. I'm not worried about it, which maybe yeah, but like, it wouldn't hurt for you to get these papers. But some people feel like, no, if I write my will, then I'll die. I don't want to do that.
Superstitious.
Yeah. So some people are like, no, if I start doing the paperwork to like plan for them to come get me, then they're gonna come get me. Like, so there's a lot of emotional work to do as you're preparing, but I think it's like disaster planning.
Yeah. Right. Oh my God.
So well, I would talk about that.
Thank you so much for your time. Do you ladies have any other questions?
I just wanted to ask Amanda, what do you recommend if a family is going through something where a family member was detained? Like where would their first steps be, like to find that family member or to locate that family member? Like is there even a way to be able to find this family or track them? Technically, yes. However, it may not work as quickly as you need it to work. So there is something called the ICE Online Detainee Locator. It's a website on ICE's website. I can pull it up. I know you guys are sort of sharing a screen. But if you just Google Online Detainer Locator System with ICE, it'll take you to a page that says like, okay, so who are you looking for? The ways that you can search for a person are with their biographical information. So you need their first and last names, the country that they were born in, and their date of birth. And by entering that, you should be able to theoretically locate somebody. Okay. The other information you can use is to search by their alien registration number. I have found that is a much better way of searching. If your family member has an alien registration number, I would try that first. Okay. But not everyone's going to have one. If someone has lived here for years and they've never had interaction with immigration, they probably don't have an alien registration number. But if they have, like, at any point, if they ever had a work permit, then they've got one. So that's a better way. The problem is that this system is not updated regularly. It's not current. It's not immediate. So I've been looking for someone in this system for the past 11 days, and I've not been able to locate them. So if that's your family member, that's 2 weeks where you can't find them. The option at that point is to call ICE directly, to call the field office, where that person was detained. Anyone doing that, only let your citizen people do that. And even then, ICE may not respond. They might say only an attorney can do this, which is not true, but they might say that. And I, being an attorney, they don't respond to me either. I'll tell you that. They ignore attorneys all the time. So it's a lot of persistence, but this is sort of the website you would begin with, of like, go here, put in their data, and keep checking, see if it's up. And then have a citizen call or email the field office, the ICE field office, where that person was detained, to say, like, I know, my family member, my nephew, whoever was picked up, and I can't find him in the locator. Do you know which facility he's in? And then maybe they'll tell you. The other thing is that people get transferred a lot between facilities. So it can even be difficult for ICE to tell you, like, where that person is today, because people get moved around so much. So the ICE online detainee locator is the place to begin, but you may have to continue to follow up
and call them directly.
Keep calling. You might need help from an attorney. But even then, I mean, attorneys don't have like special superpowers. We have certain abilities legally, but ICE doesn't always respond to attorneys either. So start with the website, and then from there, see what else. Hopefully you find them. And then if you find them, if you know which facility they're detained in, then you can focus on trying to set up a visitation at that facility. Probably like through video call.
Okay.
You don't have to drive to whatever facility. But then that's like it's a whole other pain of trying to set up visitation.
Set up. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or information, thoughts?
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a hard topic.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it's a very dark time. So it's not something that people want to talk about or even know how to talk about.
Yep, and we appreciate your time, Amanda, so much with sharing all that information with us today.
Yes, thank you for being here.
And thank you for all you do.
Yes,
thank
definitely.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say, Amanda, you have your Saturday back. You don't have to, deal with us being super sad.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I'm really glad that you guys are willing to talk about this. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to live through. It's absolutely terrifying. So there weren't podcasts like back in the Civil Rights era or during the Holocaust or during the Fugitive Slave Act. But these conversations have always been happening. We're having them in a different format. We're doing them electronically, but conversations among people who are trying to survive and figure out, how do we support each other? How do we survive this moment? I'm really glad that you all have decided to hold this conversation. Because it is enough to scare people from even thinking about it. Many immigrants I have met are in denial.
Yeah.
But I think people just enter a type of denial because it's overwhelming and scary.
Yeah.
So they'd rather just believe that it's not going to happen to me. And maybe it won't. And then they'll be like, see, I told you. But maybe it will. And then then what?
Yeah.
So do the prep, get your temporary guardianship papers together, figure out who's going to have access to all this paperwork, the keys, your dog, like who's going to take care of your dog. It's scary, but you can do it. But people need to have their hand held as they do it. And that can be something that some of us can offer. I will go through this with you. I can't do it for you. And I'm not the one that they're trying to deport today. But I can do this with you, this part.
Thank you.
So let's do that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You have a
good
great
Saturday.
Day.
Have a good day. Happy Saturday.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Be safe. Be prepared. Lean on your community. Don't stop fighting. Thank you for listening to Adiós Guapo. Until next time.
Gracias.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Adiós, guapo.
Adiós, guapo.